The second situation or event that I want to talk about is the situation as to how Elizabeth Cox became a part of Midstate Plastics. Shortly after I arrived at Midstate in the spring of 1972, someone put out the word in Seagrove community that I was a sometimes volunteer. I like to be involved in community activities. Based on that, one of the things I got talked into was to become the president of the Seagrove Elementary PTA for the year 72-73. That led to me getting to know people getting to know me in PTA meetings. I was trying to recall the fellow officers that year. I know that Judy Cole was one of my fellow officers. I think Whitey Preston was one, and Gwen Allman, I believe, was the other. There was 4 of us that served as officers for that PTA year, but I guess it was at the first meeting or perhaps second meeting that I was chairing the meeting, and there was a pretty good little crowd of parents there, and I don't remember exactly what I was telling, but I suppose I was laying out plans that we had, projects that we were working on. The meeting went very well, and we adjourned and went home. A couple of days later, I received a personal letter from a member of the PTA who said that she had been at the meeting and she was impressed with what I had said at the meeting and that she was interested in employment. And coincidentally, the lady who had been our bookkeeper from day one until that point in time had recently turned in her resignation and was leaving. So we were in a position of needing bookkeeper, office girl, whatever title you want to put onto it. Talked with Elizabeth Cox. She was quite impressive and was obviously anxious to become a part of our organization. So we extended an offer to her, and she accepted that offer and went to work. That was sometime in probably early 1973. I'd have to go back and check the record to see exactly what the date was, but she came to work, began taking on the multiple tasks that a office person in a one-person office normally get into. She did the accounting, certainly the bookkeeping part of it, and then the accounting firm would help close it out and help train her, and that moved along. She continued to do that as we grew, and as we moved into the new facility in 1976, she for the first time had her own office and a little bit more privacy than she had before. And she continued to take on additional responsibilities. Personnel responsibility was one that was sort of a natural for her. She liked people. She had a good attitude about how to treat people and understood that certainly my feeling about treating people was to find a way to treat them good if possible. She bought into that philosophy pretty quickly and was continuing to do a very good job of being the single office girl. Pretty quickly after we moved into the new facility, we began to add some staff because we were growing rather rapidly. We had picked up some customers that were expecting a little bit more out of our organization, so we were growing. One of the things that Elizabeth did was take on some of the customer service duties, and then a little bit later she hired a couple of other ladies who became a part of our formal customer service operation. After Don Wellington left the company, we hired a new sales manager who stayed not too long, I guess a year or two. He decided to leave also. I decided that I wanted a very stable person that had close contact with the customers, because I realized that when these salespeople came in and worked for us for a couple of years and decided to go out and start their own business, that they had an opportunity to take business with them unless we had someone inside the company who was stable and had a good relationship with the customer. Liz became that person that had contact with the customers, that provided what the customers needed in the way of service and information, and built a relationship that was enduring. Elizabeth stayed with Midstate the rest of her career, even after it was sold to Anchor and I was gone. She stayed with that somewhat longer than I think left of her own accord. I'm not real sure about that. But anyway, she moved up to a position of vice president of customer service with sales responsibility for custom side of the business, the non-medical side of the business. She was pretty much responsible for the excellent relationship that we had with IBM. Was her customer. I think in the highest year she did about $9 million worth of business with IBM. So the plan that I had to protect myself from the movement of salespeople was certainly validated in that case. And in addition to her professional responsibilities, Elizabeth also served somewhat as the ethics guru in the company. Her ethics, her standards were extremely high. She sometimes held the rest of us to her standard, and all of us benefited from that. She was a wonderful friend, an excellent employee, and someone that I enjoyed working with every day.